Did you know that in homes of Americans over 60, almost 30% of space is taken up by things they haven't touched in over a year? Old decorations, unopened boxes, souvenirs from lives well lived but long past. For Harold Thompson, 68, a retired firefighter from Michigan, it wasn't a statistic, it was his everyday reality. One cold morning, rushing to grab his coffee, he tripped over a plastic bin labeled Christmas 1979. That label had followed him through 3 houses and 4 decades. Sitting on the floor, rubbing his knee, Harold laughed, then sighed. He realized his home had quietly turned into storage for a man he no longer was. That's when something in him snapped, not from anger, but clarity. "Why am I keeping what keeps me from living?" he said. 48 hours later, the clutter that once filled every corner was gone. Not boxed up. Gone. He didn't buy a single bin, shelf, or fancy organizer. Just a plan, a purpose, and 2 days of courage. And the result? Space that finally matched the calm he'd been chasing for years. Before we go on, if this already hits home, don't just tap that new hype button. It's YouTube's way of letting seniors' voices rise to the top. You get 3 hypes a week, and every one helps this message reach more people over 60. While you're at it, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what Harold discovered next isn't just cleaning, it's freedom, and you deserve to feel it too. So, how did he do it? Let's walk through the vintage system, 7 simple steps that erase clutter without one new bin. System 1. Define your now home. Harold didn't start with boxes or trash bags. He started with stillness. After decades of working in chaos, sirens, alarms, and smoke, he realized his peace couldn't begin with noise. So he reached for something quiet, an old spiral notebook. The edges were yellowed, the cover slightly bent, but it would do. He opened to the first page and wrote, in the same steady script that once filled shift logs, "My now home list." It wasn't a list of chores. It was a declaration. A promise that his house would no longer be an archive of everything he used to be. He began in the kitchen, the heart of his mornings. 4 years, every cabinet was crammed with duplicates. 4 coffee makers, 5 mismatched toasters, and a drawer full of just-in-case utensils. He opened one door, took a breath, and asked himself, what do I actually use every day? The answer came easily, the chipped blue mug his daughter gave him, the small saucepan for oatmeal, the single sharp knife he reached for without thinking. He wrote each one down under keep. Then he looked at the rest, the untouched gadgets, the bulky serving bowls, the stack of plates for guests who no longer came. These belong to my past life, he said quietly. Not my now home. In the living room, he sat where he always did, by the window facing the oak tree. That tree had watched him through every season of life, his marriage, his retirement, his loneliness. But lately, he realized he barely saw it. Boxes blocked the view, a tangle of cords filled the floor, photo albums leaned against the wall. He flipped a page in his notebook and wrote, I want to see the tree again. That one line shifted everything. The now home list wasn't about what to keep, it was about how he wanted to feel. And that's what makes this step powerful for seniors. We spend so many years maintaining homes that no longer reflect who we are. The now home list is your way of redefining that relationship. It's not decluttering, it's rediscovery. Each room becomes a reflection of the person you are today, not the collection of every version you've ever been. Harold didn't rush. He let himself remember as he walked. The sewing kit from his late wife, the stack of firehouse calendars, the armchair his grandkids used to climb. He didn't force decisions. He simply asked one question over and over. Does this belong to my life now, or to a story I've already lived? The beauty of that question is that it doesn't shame you, it honors what was, while making space for what is. Try this yourself tonight. Don't pick up a single item yet. Just walk slowly through your home, notebook in hand, and write 3 things per room. 1. What I use every day. 2. What I love seeing every morning. 3. What no longer fits my life today. You don't need to decide anything else. The list alone is the first act of change. By the end, you'll start to see a pattern, maybe too many objects serving old identities, and not enough serving the person you are right now. That's when clarity begins. For Harold, that notebook became his anchor. By the time he finished writing, he didn't feel guilty for what he owned. He felt grateful for what truly mattered. "I thought I was getting ready to clean," he laughed later, "but really, I was getting ready to live differently." This is where your 48-hour transformation truly begins. Not with trash bags, not with bins, but with awareness. Because before you can erase clutter, you have to redefine what home means to you now. So take a moment. Picture one room that feels heavy. Breathe. Then ask yourself, what would this space look like if it only held what I love and use today? Write it down. That's your first step toward freedom. And I'd love to know, what's one room in your home you'd love to feel lighter by tomorrow? Share it below, and maybe you'll inspire someone else to start their Now Home list tonight. System 2. Rescue the memories before the mess. Before Harold moved a single box, he poured himself a cup of coffee and did something most people skip. He sat down at a small wooden table by the window and decided to start with his memories. Not the clutter, not the furniture, the stories. Years of firefighting medals, birthday cards, and photographs of faces that had long since grown up or passed on were scattered across that table. The old Harold would have tried to get through it, rushing to make decisions he wasn't ready for. But this time, he gave himself 1 hour, no more. 1 hour to hold each item, remember, and choose how to keep the story, not the stuff. He opened an envelope of Polaroids from 1978. There he was, young, soot-streaked, grinning with the firehouse crew after a long night on duty. He felt the familiar ache of nostalgia, but instead of putting it back in the pile, he snapped a quick photo on his phone. Then, in his notebook, he wrote, "Firehouse 1978, best team of my life." One small note, one saved image, the memory was preserved without the weight of the paper. He did the same for dozens of moments. His wedding photo, his daughter's first school recital, his late wife smiling over a burnt Thanksgiving turkey. Each time, the act of writing the story loosened the guilt that came with letting go. That's what rescuing memories really means. For many older adults, it's not the object we cling to, it's the emotion inside it. But those emotions don't need to live in boxes under beds. They can live in stories, shared digitally, written in notebooks, or passed down through voice recordings. This is how Harold turned guilt into gratitude. Instead of whispering, "I can't throw this away," he began saying, "I've already saved this part of my life." If you're over 60, you probably know that certain items feel sacred. A locket, a military patch, a letter in faded ink. But holding on to every keepsake often traps the joy inside the clutter. Try this instead. Set a timer for 1 hour. Choose one category, maybe photos, letters, or keepsakes, and sit somewhere calm. Handle each piece gently. Take a digital picture of the ones that speak to your heart, write a line or two about the memory, then pass it forward, to a child, a friend, a memory box, or even your computer. You're not erasing the past, you're giving it new life where it can breathe. Harold's daughters were shocked when he started texting them photos. "Dad, where did you even find this?" They laughed when he sent a picture of their childhood dog with the caption "Rusty, Chief of Backyard Patrol." It wasn't just cleaning anymore, it was reconnecting. By the end of the day, he'd shared 50 memories, filled a small notebook, and cleared an entire dresser drawer. But more importantly, he felt lighter, not because the items were gone, but because their meaning had been rescued. For seniors, this step is more than organization. It's emotional closure in gentle form. It's a way to honor the weight of a full life without being buried under it. And in a digital age, it's easier than ever. Your smartphone can become your memory keeper. Just a tap to photograph, a line to label, and a moment to smile before letting go. So don't start by decluttering your home. Start by preserving your story. Because when you capture the memory, the object loses its power to control you. And you might just find, like Harold did, that your most precious memories aren't lost in the cleanup, they are finally free to live again. If you could digitize one memory item today, just one, what would it be? Tell us below, and maybe it'll inspire someone else to rescue their own story before the mess. System 3. Eliminate the just-in-case pile. By the time Harold made it to the basement, he knew this was where his real battle lived. It was the quiet, unseen room that carried the weight of 40 years, the place where every just-in-case decision had gone to rest. Old paint cans, half-used extension cords, tools for projects that never happened, boxes labeled winter gear 1999 and camping, someday. The air was thick with dust and hesitation. This wasn't clutter born of laziness, it was clutter born of good intentions. Every item told a story that began with the same promise: I might need this one day. But as Harold stood in the middle of it all, he realized someday had already come and gone. So he gave himself a rule, firm but fair: if it hasn't been touched in 12 months, it's leaving my home in some way. Either donated, recycled, or passed on to someone who would actually use it. He wasn't punishing himself for keeping these things, he was releasing them from the burden of waiting. The first item was a set of rusted garden shears. He turned them in his hand and smiled. I haven't trimmed a hedge since my knees gave out, he admitted. But someone else could. Into the donation pile they went. Next came a box of old Christmas lights, tangled beyond repair. 4 years, he'd kept them just in case the newer ones failed. But they never did. Out they went too. For seniors, this system isn't about moving fast, it's about moving safely and intentionally. Harold knew his limits. He didn't climb ladders or move heavy bins alone. Instead, he called his neighbor, Steve, a young man who mowed his lawn. Together, they spent an afternoon sorting, sitting, and sharing stories. Each box became an opportunity to remember without getting stuck in the past. And when something was too hard to part with, Harold didn't force it. He simply set it aside for another round. Progress, not perfection. If you're over 60, this approach is essential: safety first, always. Sit on a sturdy chair or stool, and bring the items to you instead of bending or reaching. Use smaller containers, and keep a trash bag nearby for obvious discards. Take frequent breaks. The goal isn't to finish in one go, it's to make steady choices that protect your body and free your mind. Because the just-in-case pile is rarely about utility, it's about fear. Fear that you'll need something later, fear that you'll regret letting go. But here's the truth Harold learned: most of those items had already expired their purpose. Letting them go wasn't risky, it was realistic. By the end of the day, his basement looked completely different. The shelves were half empty, and for the first time, he could see the floor. He kept a few essentials: a toolbox, a ladder, a small box of light bulbs, and released the rest. When the donation truck pulled away, he stood by the door and felt lighter than he had in years. That was my someday pile, he said softly, but this is my today house. If you try this system yourself, start with one small area: a closet, a shelf, a box. Ask, have I used this in the last year? Would I actually need it if I didn't have it tomorrow? You'll find that most of your just-in-case items are really just in the way. Replace that space with something better: air, light, room to move. Freedom. So, what's hiding in your just-in-case pile? Is it a box in the attic, a drawer in the kitchen, or a corner of the garage that's quietly waited for decades? Tell us below, and maybe, like Harold, you'll discover that letting go of someday is the best way to finally live in today. System 4. The companion corner, not the legacy box. By the time Harold cleared his basement, something inside him had shifted. For the first time in decades, his home wasn't weighed down by what he didn't need. But he didn't want a sterile, empty space either. He wanted warmth, a place that reflected his life, not his clutter. That's when he came up with what he called his companion corner. It wasn't a storage area, and it wasn't hidden away in a box. It was a living tribute, a small corner that held only the few things that still spoke directly to his heart. He chose a spot beside his reading chair, where the afternoon light hit just right. There, he placed 3 things: his old firefighter's helmet, polished but still scarred, a framed photo of his family from the summer of 1992, when his daughters still believed he could fix anything, and a chipped red mug from his first firehouse, the one that had survived every move and every chapter. These weren't things he wanted to hide in a bin labeled memories. They were companions, reminders of the man he had been and the life he still carried forward. The beauty of this system is its simplicity. For seniors, especially those downsizing or simplifying, the companion corner bridges the past and present. It keeps what matters visible, not buried. It replaces storage with soul. Too often, we box away the very items that hold our emotional heartbeat, only to forget them. Harold realized that visibility honors meaning. It lets you enjoy your keepsakes daily without letting them take over your life. "I don't want a memory box," he said with a laugh. "I want a memory seat." And that's exactly what he created, a space that felt like a quiet conversation between his past and his present self. Creating your own companion corner doesn't take money or new furniture. Start by choosing a small area, maybe near your chair, your window, or your bedside table. Then, pick 3 to 5 items that make you feel deeply you. They don't have to be fancy. Maybe it's your wedding photo, a seashell from a family trip, or a small award from a job well done. Arrange them in a way that feels peaceful. Add a soft light, a small plant, or even your favorite book beside them. What matters is that you see them often, not store them away for later. This is especially important as we age. Familiar sights can anchor us, offering both comfort and continuity. A companion corner becomes more than decor, it becomes a gentle touchstone for gratitude. It whispers, "You've lived, you've loved, you're still here," and that's worth celebrating every day. Harold's daughters noticed it right away. "Dad," one of them said, pointing at the helmet, "you used to keep that in the attic." He smiled. "Yeah," he said softly, "but what's the point of memories if you can't see them?" From that day on, he read his morning paper next to those 3 items, coffee steaming from that old red mug. His home felt quieter, but not empty, it felt complete. For you, the companion corner can serve as the emotional centerpiece of your 48-hour makeover. It's the antidote to the guilt of letting go, a place where your favorite chapters live in harmony with your new beginning. You're not discarding your story, you're displaying it with pride and presence. So think about it. Where could your companion corner go? Near your chair, your bed, or your favorite window? Picture it now. What 3 items would earn their place there, not out of obligation, but out of love? Share your ideas below, and let's celebrate the beauty of keeping just enough to remind you of who you are, right where you are. System 5, clear paths, not rooms. When Harold reached this stage, the thought of tackling an entire room nearly made him stop. The living room still felt heavy, the hallway cluttered with old furniture, and the bedroom corners piled high with "I'll get to it later." But then he noticed something small that changed everything. On his way from the kitchen to the living room, he had to sidestep a pile of magazines, squeeze past a chair that had drifted too close to the doorway, and bend to avoid the glare of a floor lamp leaning too near the wall. It hit him. The house wasn't just cluttered, it was hard to move through. And for someone his age, every unnecessary obstacle was an invitation for danger. So Harold redefined success. He no longer wanted to clean a room. He wanted to clear a path. That single decision changed everything. He started with the most traveled routes: bed to bathroom, kitchen to chair, and front door to hallway. Every object in those lines of motion had to earn its place. The first thing to go was the small shoe rack by the door. It looked organized, but it tripped him twice last month. Next came the plant stand in the hallway, beautiful but blocking half the passage. "You're lovely," he said aloud to the fern, "but I don't need to bump into you every morning." He moved it to the window instead. Within hours, the light shifted, sunlight stretched further across the floor, and the air somehow felt lighter. For older adults, this mindset is transformative. Clearing paths is not just about tidiness. It's about reclaiming safety, flow, and peace of movement. Our vision, balance, and reflexes change with time. What once felt like minor clutter now poses real risk. Harold understood that a clear path meant fewer falls, less frustration, and more independence. Every walkway he opened became a quiet declaration: "I'm making my home easier to live in, not harder to maintain." He set a timer for 20 minutes per path, just enough to stay focused without fatigue. A sturdy chair stood nearby for rest breaks, and his neighbor Steve offered an extra set of hands for lifting heavier items. Each time they cleared a section, Harold tested it, walking slowly, imagining nighttime trips for water, early mornings for coffee. "If I can walk it half asleep and half awake without hitting anything," he laughed, "then it's safe enough for real life." By hour 36 of his 48-hour makeover, Harold no longer cared that the guest room closet was still half full or that a few drawers needed sorting. He had done something more meaningful. He had restored the flow of his home. Light now moved uninterrupted from the window to the kitchen counter. The hallway echoed softly when he walked through. Even the act of turning corners felt effortless. "It's strange," he told his daughter on the phone. "I didn't clean the whole house, but I finally feel like I live here again." For anyone watching, this system is one of the simplest yet most powerful. You don't need energy to empty rooms. You just need intention to open space where you move. Start with your essential roots, from your bed to the bathroom, your favorite chair to the kitchen, your main entrance to your everyday seat. Walk those paths slowly. Notice what you dodge, what you step over, what catches your arm. Then start removing. One small obstacle at a time. And here's the secret. The more paths you clear, the calmer your home will feel. You'll breathe easier, see more light, and move more freely, physically and emotionally. Because a cluttered path doesn't just block movement, it blocks energy, safety, and ease. So here's your challenge: don't clear your whole house. Clear your way through it. Start today, with one path that matters most to your everyday comfort. And tell me, which pathway in your home would you love to make obstacle-free? System 6. Reframe for use, not archive. By the final stretch of his 48-hour makeover, Harold's house looked half empty, and that was the point. For the first time in years, he could see the texture of his own life instead of layers of history piled over it. But emptiness wasn't what he saw freedom. With every shelf he cleared and every item he reassigned, his home began to feel lighter, warmer, and unmistakably his. It no longer looked like a storage space for the past, it looked like a place made for living, today. This was the stage he called reframe for use, not archive, a mindset shift from preserving memories in objects to designing comfort around daily life. Harold started small, focusing on function. He moved his favorite reading chair to face the window where morning sunlight spilled in. That spot used to hold a heavy display cabinet filled with china and trophies, things that once mattered but now gathered dust. Replacing it with that single chair changed the whole rhythm of his mornings. "I want my home to feel like company's always coming," he said. "Not to impress anyone, just to keep myself living like life's happening now." Next, he turned to his kitchen, a place long overrun by someday items. Fancy serving dishes, crystal glasses, and baking pans stacked high for occasions that rarely came. He cleared a single lower shelf and filled it only with the dishes and utensils he actually used. "I've spent years bending and stretching for things I don't even need," he joked, placing his daily mug within easy reach. Seniors often underestimate how much small accessibility changes can transform comfort. By keeping everything he needed between waist and shoulder height, Harold reduced strain, improved safety, and found joy in simple routines. His dining area was next. Once cluttered with an extra table set for holiday meals, it now held a smaller round table, one that made the space feel open and welcoming. He donated the spare set to a local family shelter, smiling as he watched the truck drive away. "Those chairs are going to be used again," he said. "That's better than them waiting on me to need them someday." This is what reframing truly means, designing your space for how you live now, not for the version of yourself that once was. Many older adults unconsciously build their homes around memories, traditions, or what ifs. But at this stage of life, peace often comes from practicality. The rooms you move through should serve you, not the other way around. Ask yourself, does every surface in your home have a purpose? Do your favorite spots invite comfort or collect dust? Try this small experiment. Walk into a room you use daily. Choose one corner, maybe the one near the window or the space beside your bed, and imagine it redesigned purely for you. Not for guests, not for storage, not for display. For your comfort and ease. What would stay? What would go? What could move closer? Even a single change, a lamp placed within reach, a small table for your morning tea, a soft chair with a blanket always ready, can transform an ordinary space into a sanctuary. By the time Harold finished, his home wasn't minimalist, it was meaningful. Every object earned its place, and every corner invited use. His daughter visited a week later and paused at the door. "Dad, it feels bigger in here," she said. He smiled. "It's not bigger," he replied, "it's finally built for the life I'm living." That's the essence of the vintage system, to honor your history without being trapped by it, and to make your home fit you again. So take a look around your space today and ask yourself this: if you could redesign just one daily corner purely for your comfort and peace, what would it be? System 7. Fast Finish and Forward Habit. By hour 47, Harold stood at his front door holding his phone, the last call of his 48-hour transformation ready to make. The donation truck was on its way, and the final few bins, the same ones that once defined his house, were waiting by the curb. He ran his hand along the lid of one, the label almost faded: Garage, Misk. 4 years, that word had meant too much to deal with. But not anymore. He smiled, dialed the number, and said simply, "It's ready." When the truck drove away an hour later, Harold felt the kind of silence that wasn't empty, it was peaceful. His home didn't echo, it breathed. And that's how he knew it was time for the most important part of all, not finishing, but maintaining. This final system is the secret to keeping the transformation alive. It's not about a perfect home, it's about a living rhythm, small actions that prevent clutter from returning and let peace become your new default. Harold understood something that most people miss. The true challenge isn't decluttering once, it's staying free afterward. So he created a rule simple enough to follow forever: one in, one out. Every time he brought something new into his home, something else had to leave. Bought a new sweater? The old one went straight into the donation bag. Picked up a new book? He passed along one he'd already read. It wasn't punishment, it was balance. "I spent too many years adding without asking," he said. "Now I ask before I add." For older adults, this mindset is powerful because it works with the natural rhythm of life. Instead of overwhelming cleanouts every few years, you keep up a gentle, ongoing flow, a home that adjusts with you, not against you. Harold even created a departure basket by his door, a woven basket where he'd place anything he was ready to part with. Once it filled, he'd drop it off during errands. This way, letting go wasn't an event, it was a routine. He also began ending each day with what he called his 5-minute reset. Before heading to bed, he'd walk one small loop, from his chair to the kitchen counter, down the hall to his bedroom, putting away stray items, folding a blanket, returning his glasses to their spot. 5 minutes, that's all. But those few quiet gestures built a sense of completion that carried him peacefully into sleep. "It's not about tidiness," he said. "It's about not waking up to yesterday's noise." For seniors, this approach is both practical and deeply empowering. It respects the energy and pace that later life brings while ensuring control stays in your hands. Instead of needing a spring cleaning every few months, you develop habits that make your home self-sustaining. Think of it as emotional maintenance, a way of honoring the space you've worked so hard to reclaim. Try beginning your own forward habit with one small commitment. Maybe it's clearing the kitchen counter before bed, keeping a small giveaway box near your front door, or setting aside 10 minutes on Sundays to rehome items that no longer serve you. Small, regular rituals keep your home calm because they make care continuous, not conditional. By the end of Harold's 48th hour, his rule was clear and easy. Every item in his home either worked, warmed, or mattered. Nothing extra. And because of that, his home stayed light. The clutter never crept back in, not because he became strict, but because he became present. "I don't want my house to own me again," he said, sipping coffee beside his clean, sunlit chair. "I just want to live inside it, peacefully." That's what this system is about, finishing fast, then moving forward with grace. So think about it, what one daily habit could keep your home calm for good? Maybe it starts tonight, with one drawer, one surface, or one simple promise to yourself. By the morning of day 2, Harold's home didn't just look different, it felt different. The man who once shuffled around boxes and sidestepped piles now walked freely through hallways washed in sunlight. The air carried that quiet scent of space, wood, coffee, and fresh possibility. His daughters stopped by that evening, expecting another weekend of helping him organize, but instead, they found him sitting in his reading chair beside the window, coffee steaming in hand, the firefighter's helmet glinting softly behind him. "Dad," one whispered, "this doesn't look like your house." Harold smiled. "That's because I finally made it mine again." He hadn't bought storage or gadgets or labeled bins, he had reclaimed clarity. He didn't store life away, he started living it again. The boxes of someday were gone, replaced by open air and reachable peace. You're not just decluttering, the narrator says, you're rebuilding peace, one corner at a time. Because at 60, 70, or 80 plus, you've earned the right to breathe in your own home again, not just to exist in it, but to feel at home in the space you've built with your years of work, love, and memory. Harold's story is proof that it doesn't take money or muscle, it takes intention. 2 days, 7 systems, and a choice to stop waiting for the right time. His 48-hour freedom wasn't a miracle. It was maturity, knowing that letting go is another form of strength. If Harold's 48-hour system inspired you, don't let this story end here. Hit like and share this video with someone who needs this gentle reminder today, that it's never too late to create calm, comfort, and clarity in your own space. And don't forget to hype this video. You get 3 free hypes every week, and each one lifts senior voices higher on YouTube where they deserve to be heard. Step 1. Scroll and find hype. Step 2. Tap. Step 3. Choose your points. Step 4. Confirm. Every single hype helps this community grow. Then, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next Wise Aging Seniors Makeover. Because together, we're not just cleaning, we're redefining what home feels like after 60. We're choosing calm over clutter, meaning over mess, and life over boxes.